Hello and welcome to my YouTube video. Today I'm going to be painting this dog sitting next to a lovely pot of flowers, and I wanted to talk about integrating objects into their background and why it is important. This painting will be on paper, so before we start I'm just going to show you how I prepare my paper quickly. So this paper is 280 GSM all-purpose paper. I do not prime it, I just paint on it as it is, but before I start I always cover it in a wash of raw sienna and turps. So this is because I like a warm surface temperature to paint on. You can't lay the paint on too thick with this paper, and as white paint is usually much thicker in its consistency due to the opaque nature of it, I find that by warming up the surface of my paper, it really helps my light areas, as I don't need to add thick white paint plus like a yellow to warm it up. It is already warmed up. It allows you really to have a very light touch with your paint, which is what you need when you're painting on this sort of paper. So let's start painting then. I just want to start by discussing why it is important to integrate your objects correctly. So by doing this, it will lead to a much more realistic painting. So what do I mean then when I talk about integrating objects? Well, what I mean is that as you view the painting, the whole thing seems very harmonious to look at. You're not getting elements of your painting sort of jutting out and looking as though they don't belong there. So how can I ensure then that my objects look integrated? Well, there are a number of things that I can do. So number one then, use a limited palette and make sure you don't introduce a new colour into your painting halfway through. The limited palette that I would recommend is cadmium yellow, yellow ochre light, ultramarine blue deep, cadmium red, alizarin crimson, viridian, raw umber, ivory black and titanium white. This will give you all the colours then that you need to pretty much paint anything, and I very often leave viridian out of my standard palette and only really introduce it if I'm painting nature. Generally it does not feature in my palette. By always painting with the same palette, you'll get a really good understanding of what the palette can do and how to use it, and you won't be tempted to throw in some random colour that throws out your whole painting. You must make sure that all the paints that you intend to use are there at the start of your painting and that you use them throughout. Number two, make sure you work on the painting as a whole and mix your background colours into your objects and vice versa. So it's important to remember that an object takes on the colours of its surrounding environment, especially in the shadows where you'll get reflections from your objects. So for example here, the blue pot and the black dog are reflecting the floor. So I need to make sure that the colours I use in the pot and dog are present in the shadows on the floor. So I can do this by mixing in a small amount of my object colours into my background colours. And this is why it is so important to work on your painting as a whole, because you won't have the colours that you mixed previously if you work on the painting section by section. Number three, use soft edges. So make sure that you blend your edges between your objects and their backgrounds. You want to avoid dragging the paint really from one section to another, especially if you are trying to blend a dark object into a lighter background, because dragging the paint in this scenario will result in a chalky effect. Rather, what you want to do is introduce a bridging colour. So for example, if I was going from say blue to red, I would maybe use the purple as my bridging colour, which I would blend with soft edges between the two. So here it is then, the finished painting. I hope you have enjoyed my video today. I do try and post one a week, so please subscribe to my channel if you can. Also, check out my website, sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details on online courses that I run. Thank you for watching, and I will see you for next week's video.